Right, so arrows. Quiver full of arrows. Most of them are different and work with different kinds of bows. I actually have here, let's see, some, same type of arrow, but in different configurations. Where is it? Well, basic arrow stuff. Your arrows have a spine, not a spine like mammals, but this corresponds to, let's see if you can see that, the stiffness of the arrow. And choosing the correct stiffness or flexibility for your bow will help you get more or less accurate. If you go over spine, that is if you choose an arrow that is too stiff for your bow, then it will go to the left. When you point it directly at the target and release, if it goes way left, then it is simply too stiff. This is because the bow shelf and string is not completely in line. The arrow is actually, when sitting on the string, it actually tip a bit to the left, unless you are a left-hand shooter, then it goes to the right, but most are right hands, which means the arrow will tend to go a bit to the left. Now, when you release the arrow, this means that your arrow will not bend around the bow, leaving it to just go left. If your arrow is correctly spined, then it'll just flex a bit and go around the bow and then straighten out on its way to the target. Now, all these different namings of spine is telling you what stiffness it has. For example, here I have 700 spine, 600 spine, 500 spine, and 350 spine. Now, what arrow goes with what bow comes down to some sort of experience, really, because I have multiple bows at both 45 pounds and 45 pounds, and I can use a variety of arrows with them. For instance, just take this one and that one and this one. These three arrows are different in length and different in spine as well, but will be used with the same bow. This is because when your arrow shaft is longer, it will naturally flex more, even if it's a stiffer spine. This is very stiff. And this is a 400 spine, 350 spine, 400 spine, and this is a wooden arrow, which doesn't come in a spine setting like carbons do. This is rated for pounds. So this would be actually a 50 to 55 spine arrow, but it will work with my 45 pound bow because it is longer than my draw length. It's just a 30-inch arrow, which means that it will flex correctly with this bow. Now, if I were to shoot this very same arrow from a long bow and a recurve bow, both at 45 pounds, then this would actually be too weak for the recurve bow, because a recurve has a bit more punch, a bit more power. It releases the arrow quickly with more speed, and this means that the arrow will be a bit under spine and it will wobble a bit, which means that the tip would flex more on its way to the target, or could even, because of the wiggling, the fletching would perhaps propel it in a different direction. So using the correct spine will help you gain accuracy. Does this mean that you cannot use a stiff arrow with a weaker bow? No, it does not. Because if this is the only thing you use, then your mind will account for this and you'll aim differently at your target, meaning that you'll still be able to be accurate with a stiffer arrow than it's actually meant for the bow. This would be somewhat controversial to most bow nerds who would always advocate for choosing the correct spine. I would too, but if you don't have the means to go out and get the correct arrows and experiment with arrow length and arrow spine and fletching and tip weight and whatever, then you could always use the specific arrows you have. Even an underspine arrow could still work, but if you go too much under the draw weight, then you risk the arrow exploding. I haven't seen it even going way under, but can happen. So in order to be safe, you should always strive to get the correct spine for your bow.